Hello. So, as you may notice by the very excited stream title, did I tweet? Oh yeah, I did. Okay, you may notice by the very exciting stream title that I have finally hit affiliate. Let's go! Now you guys will have advertisements shoved in your face. I'm so sorry about that. I tried my best to make them bearable, at least according to a friend's advice. But like, even better than that, we can have cool things now. I let's see. I submitted some emotes. I have some emotes already on hand, so I submitted some of those for like, review. I'm pretty sure it's still being reviewed. Like 99% sure. I need to check. It has been like a whole last day, but like I'm assuming it's a slow process. Yeah. Unfortunately, like they're all like the only ones I have are these animated ones, so well you can unlock them, the little points. I tried to make it as easy as possible because I don't really care about being fancy or, gatekeeping. It's free for the people as much as it can be. I need the commission more though. That's money. I need to wait till I get paid next week. And there's a bunch of stuff that I plan to add. I'm hoping to use these features that I've now unlocked to make my streams better overall. And maybe a bit more like interactive, say. I have some ideas. It'll involve me tinkering with some programs and stuff, but they will be ideated eventually. I might take a break next week to like, because I do want to do like my next stream. I want to do Web Serial Wednesday, like one more time at least. But I probably will take like a little like week break just to, like set for maybe an affiliate celebration stream, just because I really just want to like have it like a little casual and nothing fancy. We're not fancy quite yet here, but we're working on it. In the meantime, I'll probably be like figuring out like stuff I want to like make or commission for things, and also maybe getting back to planning for a bigger thing that I want to do by around the end of the year-ish. We'll see, maybe. But yeah, that's generally like the stuff that comes to mind of stuff to say. Basically just getting stuff in order. I want to add a bit more interactivity. I have some ideas. I also need to get better at like talking. I have a Discord server, but if you use it, you might notice that I'm kind of like quiet and I constantly forget to post. Like when I'm streaming. I'm thinking like if I could like either set up a bot to ping when I stream, and then maybe like a role for that. Oh no, we'll see. I need to figure out how to do that. There's probably guides somewhere. But I think it would be cool. And it would make things a lot easier for me, and I could just be like, hey, you want to you want reminders easily? There y'all. Just go over there. Boom. Ping. That would make it so much easier. So I do want to like get around to, making more use of the funny little Discord server. But yeah, so this is probably gonna be like the last trivia you'll see for a bit. It'll probably be a short one too because I started very late because I didn't realize how much I had to re-authenticate, and then I was like, I found out you could have multiple like YouTube channels under one email. So I had, have that edited videos channel. I decided to move it over because I only had one video on it, so I moved it over under my Dravia Arison email, so that way I can have it all there, so nobody can like accidentally dox me. It's okay. It's okay. I got it worked out. So yeah, I'm hoping like I'm already have hands a bit full with writing, but I'm hoping maybe I could get more into posting more stuff on there to reach out to the audience on the internet. You know how it is. But we'll see. We'll see. It all comes down to 2 weeks from now when I when I come out with the really cool stuff I'm gonna share. You'll see. It's a lot of you hear me out, and then you'll see. But it all worked out. It'll all work out. I just need to get more I need to get my shit together. I'm just throwing stuff at a wall, but I will stop doing that very shortly. Okay, that's it for the Dravia announcements of all the stuff I gotta do. But what do we have in store here? Well, there's this like web serial I was staring at that like a Blue Sky Mutual has been posting. And I'm like, you know what? Let's read it a bit. Probably won't go too long because I already had the had a whole hour delay and do the stuff and things needing to get fixed and getting distracted. But you know what? It's okay. We could read a little bit, maybe cover a bit more next week. Wait, I don't want to stream. Okay, we'll cover the week after. We'll cover the week after. And then we'll check out something new from there on. But yeah, I hope it's really good because the website looks very nice. It looks really promising. So let's head over there. This one. Ah, fuck it. I don't have it on the... Let's see. There it is. Boom. Okay, we'll increase the window size. Tee-hee-hee-hee. Get it comfy situated in there as much as possible. As much as I possibly can, given the... Okay, it's a bit too big. And that's the best I could do, given the... Yeah, I think that's the best I could do. There we go. Lock the window, and while I turn on the reading music... There we go. We are ready to go. This is the web serial we're reading. The Viridian Sphere. 2024, J.S. Seward. It's very nice. Illustrated by Allison Shabbat. Special thanks. A web novel. What a surprise. This story is a combination of written pages, illustrations, and the animated effects that are revealed by scrolling. Use the navigation at the bottom of the screen to move through the pages in the story. Some pages have multiple visual effects that accompany them. To get the full effect, scroll all the way to the bottom of each page. The upper left icon is for additional site navigation. The upper right icon allows you to customize your reading experience, such as turn off animations or text effects. This can help performance for some browsers and older machines or mobile devices. For compatibility reasons, text effects are disabled in Firefox. Ah shit, I'm using Firefox, so that probably means we won't get any text effects. Oh well. I don't really want to switch over to Chrome. I hate Chrome. So we're just gonna stick with this. If you notice a change about it, I'm trying to have comfortable posture, so I'm leaning back a bit and increasing the sensitivity in my mic instead. Hopefully it's not too bad. There we go. Okay, this web novel has an automatic bookmark system. The bookmark will save your place in the story. When you return to the main page in a fresh browser session, the page will jump to your bookmark. If you finish a page, the bookmark will save your place for the next page if there's more. This feature can be toggled in the settings in the upper right icon. Oh shit. This is a link? It's the same color as the text? Cool. Okay. Next, we're ready then. Let's read. I noticed this glitch when I was checking this out. This doesn't exactly read well. That's okay. Let's just hit next and just hope it takes us to the first page. There we go. Chapter 1.01 Relics. Can a magic relic tell its own tale? An elegant and powerful enchanted sword can carve its way into legends, but more often than not, the marks it makes are caused by its wielder. Most of these blades, no matter how exalted, seem to have no control over whether they're held by heroes or tyrants, or if they're forgotten within ancient ruins, or displayed on a wall, or pawned for drink money. They're props in someone else's story. Flooded with an excess of supernatural powers, these objects can also gain forms of influence to complement their consciousness. They might have the means to select their own worthy champion, grant incredible power to those who rescue them from being lost for eternity, or corrupt their wielder with promises of treasure and enlightenment in order to accomplish their wicked plans. A sword with the right enchantment could pick up a pen and become mightier than either object on their own. These relics might recall a very different story from the ones cobbled together from hints and hearsay by historians. Oh wait, that reminds me, I need to fix something real quick. There we go. It's fixed now. It's something I've been thinking about. There we go. Alright. Maybe it's just that nobody ever thought to simply ask these artifacts for their thoughts before. It might sound absurd to ask some magic boots about where they've been, but the only risk to scholars would be silence. Most known relics are still intact and functional, or displayed on display in museums or hidden in attics all across the continent. Of the better known relics, the legendary axe known as Tyreseth, the Land Shaper, has been kept in a royal vault in Kingslane for thousands of years. I'd bet a dragon's hoard of gold that Tyreseth would like the chance to amend their historical record. As that story goes, an artificer poured every last ounce of magic he had in enchanting an axe forged by the finest blacksmith on the western coasts. He imbued it with such immense power that it could alter the landscape for miles in every direction, wherever its head struck the ground, and gave the weapon a hunger for devastation. The artificer gifted this axe to the king of Cascalia, a tiny coastal nation that cartographers never bothered to add to their maps when it first appeared, expecting it to be absorbed by rival nations before the ink had dried. Cascalia wouldn't go ignored for long, though, as for years and years, the king traveled up and down the coast, claiming new territory with the power of Tyreseth at his disposal, the axe's influence growing with every new nation the king conquered. He could churn up the land under cities with terrifying earthquakes, or split the earth into wide chasms that swallowed up opposing armies. When denied entry to the sprawling castle atop Mount Leo, the king inverted the mountain with a single strike, collapsing it into what is now known as Leo Lake. Exhausted by this final act of conquest, the king died in the field next to the lake. His heirs chose that location to build Kingslane, the present-day capital of Cascalia. If I were in Tyreseth's position, I might appreciate the wonderful and possible powers the modern telling of the legend attributes to be known to everyone as this almighty instrument of change. That sounds incredible. But I'd want people to know the truth about the works I'd done, especially the efforts that show non-maniacal, bloodthirsty object corrupting royalty they gave into their darkest impulses. Maybe Cascalia's borders grew because they turned rocky fields into arable farmland so that people could thrive. Maybe Tyreseth urged the king to cut paths for rivers that flowed to towns suffering drought. Maybe none of the legends have any truth to them. I'd want people to know. Or maybe it's better to stay quiet. Choice begets consequence. If I let someone wield me in good faith and they misuse my powers, is it my fault when others are harmed? Or if I urge my champion to taking the wrong path? I'd have to explain all the mistakes I made and hope history wouldn't judge me too harshly. I'd have to revisit my failures alongside my triumphs, and the friends I lost along the way because of them. In wresting control of my own destiny from the fates, I have to accept my role in every fight that ensured everything from minor skirmishes to widespread wars. But it's all worth it, to make sure the ones who really deserve a place in the history books are not forgotten. I'll always keep their memory alive, as the stories of my dearest friends are forever entwined with mine. I am the Viridian Spear, an enchanted relic that can tell its own tale. Should I? I'll take my chances. That's a really interesting beginning. I really like that. Oh shit, I'm being told to take a sip. I do need some water. But I really like that so far. It's a very interesting premise. Like, what if the weapons could just be like, nah, that's not what happened. And the perspective is from one. That's pretty cool. Alright, I prepared myself. I have a nice juice right here. Oh, it lit up a bit. Yeah. Ooh. I like the little stories, the art. The snowy landscape and all the blinking lights of like the buildings. So nice. Oh, it like fades into the background too. That's really cool. They do cool stuff here. On the first day that I can remember, I woke to the sight of heavy snow falling outside the window before me. I could see storefronts of all kinds lining the icy street, ranging from bakeries to glassworks to winter attire, although the weather deterred all but the most determined patrons from shopping that day. Snow-covered mountaintops sat beyond the road, leading out of town. At least the ones short enough to evade the gray clouds lingering in the sky. Everything was quiet. Everything was peaceful. A reflection in the window caught my attention. A pendant made out of some sort of mirror-like metal grasping a mysterious glowing green orb like a claw, dangling from a necklace chain in some sort of display case. Something so elegant belonged around the neck of someone with impeccable fashion sense. On further inspection, I realized I was the pendant, which seemed like a perfectly normal thing for me to be when I didn't know how to be anything else. Was I more than just a fashionable accessory, though? I needed to investigate my surroundings further, so I turned my focus to the interior of the shop I resided in. I can see in all directions without moving, which is a very useful skill that I highly recommend. I saw walls of bookcases packed haphazardly with ancient, worn tomes, tables covered in potion bottles filled with liquids of every conceivable color, shelves cluttered by scrolls and vials and gemstones. Behind a messy countertop littered with tools and parchment, meticulously carved wooden wands and staffs hung from the wall. Alright, this must be magic shop. I'm in the front window of said magic shop. Therefore, I myself must be magical in some regard? The price tag that hung from my necklace, which I probably should have looked at first, confirmed my suspicion. Mysterious enchanted relic. 30,000 gold. That felt like a lot of money. My neighboring enchanted objects, such as the air step boots and hands-free wood saw, were each priced at 50 silver. Only the Shadowcast ring even came close at 200 gold, orders of magnitude away from me. For that price, I must be incredibly powerful. The thought thrilled me. The finest wizards across the land will envy whomever purchases me, as they wield me to... New question. To do what? Answers eluded me. Mysterious wasn't much to work with. Facing my first conundrum that lacked instant resolution, I started to grow frustrated. Why did I even need to figure this out myself? Where was the artificer whom was responsible for telling me everything I needed to know? They could have at least awoken me when they were making their grand monologue about how, at long last, they created a necklace that does such and such magic. Enchanters love their monologues. When a door in the back, two figures emerged. A short, bearded man with bushy eyebrows walked up to the window display, followed by a stick-thin woman wearing round glasses with lenses the size of saucers. Each carried a box filled with more gems and potions to cram into the shelves. Maybe one of them enchanted me. After the bearded man emptied his box, he turned towards me and crossed his arms. So, what do you think it does, Nadia? Well, there went that theory. If I knew Tobias, I would have put it on the label, Nadia said, adjusting her glasses. It doesn't really matter as long as it attracts customers. People are going to come in for a closer look, scoff the price, and then maybe buy a potion or two on their way out. That's at least better than if they don't come in at all. Tobias grunted, scratching his beard. I suppose, he said. Almost looks, Dilbin to me. It's a pretty good relic if that's what they're going for. The con artist who sold it to you should have scuffed it up to make it look older, though, you know, to really wring the money out of you. A replica. I panicked at the thought. I'm authentic, I swear. I just need to prove it. I couldn't provide proof, because I couldn't do anything at all. I couldn't move, let alone demonstrate some sort of magical ability at will. Seeing and hearing the world around me, thinking and reasoning, Those things came naturally to me. They did me no good without any means to demonstrate my consciousness to others, though. The shopkeepers didn't even know what the mind inside the pretty necklace on display. This was the big problem. I was stuck in place, aware of a magic deep inside me, but not the means to summon it, with no guidance or even reassurance that I'd ever do more than remain paralyzed in a shop window. I don't think it's a replica, Nadia said. Thank you for being on my side, Nadia. I already tried a few simple deconstruction spells on it. A replica would have fallen apart. It's got serious magic holding it together. I just don't know what. Tobias shook his head, returning to his work tidying up a shelf full of gemstones. It doesn't fill me with much confidence about having it out in the open. I don't know, sis. I'd feel better about having the kids around if we knew what it was. Maybe someone at Burdendale Academy can identify it? Nadia scoffed as she plucked me from the display to admire me up close. And let them take credit if it turns out to be a real Alduvian artifact? Alduvian, yeah, sounds right. Absolutely not. We've got all the tools we need right here to figure it out, and when we do, every wizard from Dia to Cauldron Grove will be talking about Denholm's magical outfitters. Besides, mail's not getting out until we get a break in the weather, so a letter to Burdendale will have to wait. We can do some tinkering tomorrow. Fine, Tobias said as he picked up the box to return to the back room. I'm not sold on this wee business, though. You can do the investigating and take all the credit for whatever you find, while I do all the unimportant stuff like running the business that feeds our family. I could feel the salt in that word. In that. Nadia chased after Tobias to continue bickering with her sibling, leaving the magic shop quiet once more. I felt a little relief in the thought that Nadia wanted to solve the mystery to my magic as much as I did. As long as they worked towards an understanding about how my artificer constructed me, I had no reason to panic. I just had to be a little patient. Nights like those, with the snow gathering on the road below the gently flickering lanterns, blanketing the rooftops of Quinn's Peak, I treasure those memories. If the fates left me silent and immobile forever, at least it gave me a beautiful sight to behold. I truly loved watching the buildings disappear under the accumulation of the lazy, drifting flakes. The weather calmed my storming mind that night, allowing me to relax. In a day's time, I'd have my answers. I believe in you, tiny orb thing. You'll find your life out there. Oh, look, it's them! Oh, that's so cute. Oh, the art enhances this so much. 4 weeks later, still no answers. After so many experiments, I felt like a waiter at a restaurant who could only describe dishes that weren't on the menu. Nadia threw test after test at me from the depths of her spellbooks, but the dormant magic inside me refused to respond, leaving us hungry for even the tiniest of scraps. Nadia had studied enchantment theory at Worth Academy before she and her brother moved to the Barren Mountains to start their business, so she at least knew where to start. Armed with a half-dozen books on magical detection and classification, she and Tobias methodically tried every spell, potion, charm, hex, wish, curse, seal, incantation, and sorcery designed to trigger a response to all common sorts of magic. We quickly ruled out elemental energies, arcana, all flavors of Terran wellspring energy common to wizardry and witchcraft. The W-form magics all came up negative. At least the spells looked pretty, with swirling motes of blues and pinks landing on me before vanishing into oblivion. I didn't want to just idle on the table, so I tried to coerce my energy out with each attempt Denholm's made, but I felt nothing after each test. Nadia would barrage me with streams of magic, only for her supernatural energies to fizzle and vanish, leaving me frustrated and the shopkeepers perplexed. The test ground to a halt when the weather cleared and customers arrived, so I'd have to wait on the workbench for them to return and try again. After we finished Advanced Arcane Detection, 3rd edition, by Dr. Olivia Promel, Nadia and Tobias changed tactics from magical stimuli to physical ones. That's where the real misery began. They started small with only mildly unpleasant trials, I mean, hoping that the threat of damage or destruction might prompt me to react. I feared for the worst when Tobias took a nail file to my silver exterior, but to my relief, my metal didn't show a single scratch from his efforts, which was good because I didn't feel anything supernatural bubbling up that I could have used to make him stop. Files became razors, razors became hammers, but every cut, scrape, and strike couldn't even scuff my mirror finish. That was just the start, as they tried boiling me, burning me, electrocuting me, freezing me, everything short of hurling me into a volcano to see if I'd melt. It's the noise of it all that annoyed me the most, I think. I couldn't hear my thoughts while fire crackled and popped around me. None of it broke me, but all of it made me grumpy. Just put me in the back window already, you two. 1 second. Yes. By that point, I started thinking that even if I gained access to my magic, I'd hide it from them, just to spite their efforts. Another dud, Nadia said, fishing me out of a bowl of bubbling purple acid with tongs. She sighed. Okay, what if we combine some approaches? Did you cast the wellspring disruptor while I electrocute it? Tobias rolled his eyes as he walked away from the workbench. Or what if we send that letter to the Burndale Academy already? It's clearly some obscure magic they didn't teach us about at Worth. I'll admit that maybe you got something valuable here, but all I really care about is that it's not dangerous to the customers and the girls. At this point, I'd say you should give it to Evelyn. She'll find a way to crack it open in 10 minutes. How about you let your daughter break your own things, Nadia prodded at Tobias with her elbow. The man grunted as he picked up some vials of elixirs to take to the shelves. At least it would keep her distracted so she'd stop switching the tags between the predator repellents and the immobilization gel. Nadia wasn't deterred from continuing to try whatever she could think of, but I could see the weariness in her eyes. As much as she enjoyed the mystery, a month with no progress had her considering Tobias's suggestion. A letter to Burndale Academy seemed more likely with each failed attempt. I tried to look on the positive side of things. Whatever power lay hidden for me, for them to be this much trouble to extract, there must be something remarkable. Still, I feared that maybe the Denholms uncovered nothing because there was nothing to find. Who knows? I believe there's something special in you, little spear. Jane and Evelyn. As the day grew late, 2 girls burst into the magic shop's front door, shaking snow off their cloaks and onto the creaky wooden floor. Evelyn, the younger of the 2, stood at half the height of her teenage counterpart, with the headband barely containing her frizzled, fiery red hair that defied every bush that tried to tame it. Her green eyes sparkled in awe as she looked at me like a bird eager to add a shiny new collectible to her nest. It's pretty! Can I have it now? Still no luck? I asked Janine, the taller girl with braided blonde hair and a soft voice. The more reserved of the 2, Janine usually observed her mother's experiments from afar, while Tobias more often than not needed to keep Evelyn from climbing atop Nadia's workbench. The way Janine looked at me with her kind brown eyes felt different from everyone else, like she saw something different than the others, but she always kept her distance as Tobias warned her and Evelyn to do. Nadia dipped me in some water and dried me off with a towel. I hope the next tests involved cleaning me with different kinds of fuzzy cloth, but alas, Nadia was already a new bowl of toxic sludge. It's a work in progress. She looked at the clumps of melting snow on the ground as the girls hung up their cloaks and removed their boots. Make sure you wipe all that up before you run off. Evelyn grabbed the wand. Janine picked up a mop. Nadia frowned as she watched her daughter use a mundane, non-enchanted tool to clean up her mess, especially when her red-haired pipsqueak of a cousin collected all the melting snow she tracked in with barely any effort, floating it into a bucket with the flick of her wand. Oh, I think you should let them rest, Janine said, waving the mop back and forth. They don't seem very happy. They? Who's they? Did she mean me? How could she tell whether I was happy? Her words surprised Nadia and me alike, but Janine seemed so certain of what she said. Nadia furrowed her brow, examining me closer and seeing nothing different. What do you mean, sweetie? Don't you feel it? Janine put the mop back in the bucket and walked to the counter, peering down at me and seeing something more than everyone else. There's this energy or something. Usually it's kind of just, I don't know, sitting there. But it swirls around a lot while you're testing it, like little whirlwinds. Nadia adjusted her glasses as she listened. I could see disappointment give way to intrigue in the magician's eyes, as the opportunity to discuss enchantments with her daughter. He usually showed no interest in anything within the walls of the magic shop, opened up a new avenue of study. Hope blossomed within me. Maybe one of the Denholms really would unlock my potential. Just not the one anyone expected. I don't see or feel anything like that, Nadia said, picking me up by the chain to get a closer look before holding me out to Janine as an idea formed within her. It might be resonating with you in a unique way. You should try it on. Nadia, Tobias, holding a squirming Evelyn in his arms, tried to voice his concerns before Nadia rose a finger to silence him. I could appreciate his caution. I'd be of the same mind in his situation. But I wouldn't ever do anything to hurt any of them, even after all the silly experiments. Which were only mild irritants anyway. Even though I knew I wouldn't stay in a magic shop window forever, I still had fond memories of watching Evelyn and Janine play in the snow, or of Tobias and Nadia milling about the bookcases as they chatted with customers. The shop was my home. The Denholms were like my family. The shopkeeper set me in Janine's palms, waiting to see if her daughter could do anything more with me. Janine glanced down at the mysterious object in her hands, taking a deep breath as she put my chain around her neck. I could sense something. What was it? I couldn't explain this fuzzy, almost magnetic sensation within me once Janine clasped the necklace chain together, but I knew it meant something. I had to follow this instinct. Oh, okay, I have that. I have an ad ready now, so I'll just use this as a chance to take a sip. Oh, I forgot something. Oh my goodness. Where is it? I forgot to open it. I need to make a checklist of stuff I need to... Fucking Hasbro. I don't particularly want to run now. Okay, we're back. Oh, sorry about that. I took advice from a friend on advertisements. Like, if you run 3 minutes every hour, then that means when people join, they won't just get hit with the fucking ad. Which is the most annoying shit in the universe, so I hope it's the trade-off. It works. Oh, it gives me a chance to take a sip. And also, I forgot to open something. So I opened a program. Because I had chat commands at one point through StreamerBot, and I always forget about it, actually opening it, but I think I have them listed downward. But that's a subject for another time. I still need to, like, tinker with those more. Let's get back to reading. I could sense something. What was it? I couldn't explain this fuzzy, almost magnetic sensation within me once Janine clasped a necklace chain together, but I knew it meant something. I had to follow this instinct. Everyone's eyes widened as I glowed slightly brighter, sparking the life like a flame catching in tinder. I'm still not sure how I managed it in the moment. At least I made my message clear. Well, this opens up some opportunities, Nadia said as her grin grew with each passing moment. Janine, how would you like to help me with my tests? I'll give you the necklace for a couple hours each day, and you could try to make it respond even more. Maybe you could try using a little magic on it too? Janine shrugged before she removed me, handing me back to Nadia for the night. I can wear it, but I think I'll try my own tests instead. I suppose, Nadia said with a defeated sigh. We can start tomorrow then. Hey. We're being unleashed at last. I just don't want her to waste her potential, is all. Nadia crossed her arms on the counter, staring at me while we waited for Janine to return from her classes. I sat idle at one end of the counter, with sheets of parchment covered in runes and a half-finished letter to Bernardell Academy between us. If we're in Bernardell and the right people knew she could perceive the essence of an obscure magic, she'd have her pick of tutors, scholarships, maybe a career for life. And she'd be miserable, don't you think? Tobias stood at the other end of the counter, grinding up seeds of the wildflower known as the Haunted Whisper, in preparation for his latest batch of hearing enhancement potions. Like it or not, the promise of guaranteed work in a wizard town won't tempt her away from these mountains. She's like her father in that way. Nadia frowned, glancing at Tobias. Maybe a little too much like Clint. The mountains didn't care that he loved them in the end. A career in magic is safe and steady these days, safer than Clint's past guard work ever was. She tapped at me with her pen, rolling me back and forth and watching my little flame of green mist flicker and swirl. You're the only magical thing she'd ever shown any interest in. Why can't you convince her for me? I made no promises. I mean, I couldn't. But also I wouldn't have in this case. Janine's destiny was hers to discover, not Nadia's to guide. Despite the magical resonance she and I shared, I admired Janine's willingness to follow her passions instead of submitting to what natural abilities she might have coursing through her veins. For the last 3 days, Janine wore me outside the magic shop for a few hours at a time, as Nadia hoped some new experiences would break through my magical essence. Outside! I accompanied Janine through Quinn's Peak, past the charming little cottages and shops and out beyond the town's boundaries, where I could see the snow closer than ever before. I never felt the snowflakes when they landed on me, but I enjoyed seeing them drift to me like they were dancing a ballet in the sky. Janine and I would wander the icy forest for hours. She'd climb trees, point at the deer and hares hiding in the snow to me, search for winter blooms and gnome caps for Tobias' potions. Anything except trying to coax any magic from me. During those treks, I was more travel companion than science experiment. With Janine, I didn't worry about my struggles. I just enjoyed the tours. And I enjoyed listening to Janine talk to me about whatever was on her mind, even if I couldn't respond. Then she'd return me to her mother, where Nadia would study me carefully, only to conclude that nothing had changed. Oh, consider reading the Jaunt? Hi! Oh, hello to you too. I don't know what that is, but you can always send me a link to it. I always like reading new things. I fully suggest sending me stuff, because I will check it out. If on stream, I will do it personally. I like looking at people's work. So, yeah. Janine and I would... Oh, wait. I read that part. I wouldn't worry about it, Nadia, Tobias said, tapping his potion bottles with the wand to activate the magic embedded in the ingredients. Those woods are pretty safe these days. It's been, what, a decade since the Pyro were last spotted nearby? Maybe she'll try the pass guard thing for a bit, get bored of patrolling the mountains, and turn to spellcraft instead. Oh, a Stephen King book. Okay. Oh, I'll check that out sometime. It does sound pretty peak. Oh, it's all a short story. Interesting. Okay, I'll bookmark it for later. Thank you for sharing it with me. Yippee, I love reading new things. We love sharing new things to read with people. That's what we're all about here. You think so? Tobias blinked, staring at Nadia in disbelief. Of course not. Have you even met your daughter? The sound of tiny feet thudding along the hardwood upstairs drew attention away from the conversation. The red-haired gremlin had awoken from her nap. Evelyn bounded down the stairs and into the front room, standing on her tiptoes as she peered over the counter. Is it done yet? I want to see it. Chuckling at her eagerness, Tobias reached into his pocket. Just like you wanted. It turned out pretty good. What do you think? He pulled out a silver chain, and on the end of it, a red gemstone with a soft light at center, wrapped in a silver wire. Ooh, it's pretty! Evelyn squealed and bounced up and down, which made it hard for Tobias to actually put it around her neck. Now I'm the Crimson Archer! What's this now? Nadia said, perplexed as she looked at her excited niece. Evelyn mimicked drawing a bow and arrow, pretending to shoot her aunt. I'm the one that stops the bad wizard. I got an amulet that makes me never miss. It's a character from a book series, Tobias said when Evelyn's explanation didn't help Nadia's understanding. Based on a true story about someone from the Royal Guard, apparently. His relic turned him into a powerful warrior and gives him impressive archery skills. Classic ancient relic behavior, really. Looks like you have competition, Nadia said to me with a grin. I may or may not have been a little jealous of being upstaged by a silly glow gem. Nobody hopped around in excitement at the idea of wearing me, and yet Evelyn was enamored with the simplest mass-produced gemstones from Loxley Co. However, I did like the sound of this Crimson Archer character. Maybe that's what I needed. An example like this archery relic could help me figure things out for myself, even if the example came in the form of exaggerated fiction. Janine entered the shop from the back door, bundled up in her winter cloak, with Evelyn's coat in hand. Ready, Evelyn? The younger girl's fiery mane bobbed as she nodded. Where are you off to today? Nadia asked. We've got a break in the weather, so I'm taking her to the library to pick up the new Crimson Archer book, Janine said. How convenient for me! Nadia picked me up and put me around Janine's neck, smiling. I see. Evelyn's new necklace makes a lot more sense now. Any green relics in these stories? Maybe a Viridian Knight or something? She put the journal in Janine's hands as well, his smile diminishing as her daughter seemed almost repulsed by the notebook. Please write something this time. Even if it's nothing's changed, that's just as important to know. And be careful. There's still a lot of ice hiding under the snow. I like the sound of the Viridian Knight myself. With so many possibilities for my magic to take shape, being a relic that could craft a heroic knight beloved by the masses felt like a dream. Maybe then, people would tell legends about me. Janine favored the idea as well. I saw her eyes brighten the moment Nadia said it. Maybe that was why your mother suggested it. Marrying magic to Janine's interest seemed like a smart move. We'll be back by dinner, Janine said, as a Crimson Archer and a Verdian Knight departed the magic shop on their perilous quest to the most dangerous place anyone would dare venture, the library. Oh, look at them. From the magic shop's window near the western edge of town, I could only ever see a sliver of Quinn's Peak. Accompanying Janine throughout the day gave me the opportunity to see its true size and beauty. The tightly packed storefronts and inns and restaurants along the winding main road that connected the east and west entrances served to entice tourists and travelers crossing the Burn Mountains with their bright signs and inviting window displays. Shops and stores gradually gave way to cozy lodges and cabins the further we departed from the main thoroughfare. A crumbling stone wall surrounded much of Quinn's Peak, built during a time when strange creatures threatened the settlements along the mountain path. Only 3 villages remained along the pass, but concerns about intruders faded roughly a decade ago, so the town never bothered to reinforce the aging wall. Interesting. I wonder why the intruders stopped being much of a worry after that time. Is it like advances in magic? Or like just like the weather? Janine walked down the stone road, her bones crunching in the deep snow. Evelyn zigzagged, pulling the snow to the side as her feet couldn't lift above the foot-high powder. She'd found a stick that looked roughly bow-shaped with some heavy imagination, mimicking an archer striking visible enemies from afar. Janine, we're surrounded by the evil wizards! Evelyn climbed up onto a bench, looking at confused passerbys as she imagined them to be in league with the enemy. She pointed towards a group stumbling out of the Ale Horse, the busiest tavern in Quinn's Peak. They got a potion that makes people's bones turn to jelly. I'll stop them. They can't hide from the crimson. One slip later, Evelyn flopped off the bench into a cushion of snow. She laid there until Janine lifted her up again. How about we try some stealth on our way to the library instead? Yeah, stealth! Undeterred by her faceplant, Evelyn ran ahead of her cousin again. We're gonna do stealth, you weirdo wizards! Janine waved to the few townsfolk who were out and about. Quinn's Peak was just small enough for most of the residents to know one another, and most were familiar with the daughters of the magic shop's owners. Hi, Miss Eddington, Janine said as they passed by Meridia, yeah, one of the newer residents in town who just opened up her own clothing store. Oh, hello, dears, Meridia said, with a quick smile before she glared at the snow and ice beyond her porch, a package under one arm. She tested an icy step before pulling herself back up along the handrail to the safety of her porch. I don't quite have my snow legs yet, she said with a sigh. Noticing Meridia's predicament, Janine stepped along the walkway up to the porch, steadying her footing from a lifetime in snowy conditions. We're going to the library, but we could stop by the post office to drop that off for you. Every time we had gone out, Janine ran to neighbors in need and offered her assistance, from hanging birdhouses to tracking down escaped chickens, the mending fences that are meant to keep the chickens from escaping. She seemed to find at least one person who could use a little help, and always volunteered to lend a hand. Oh, would you? Meridia held the package out to Janine, relieved that she no longer needed to make the trek. That'd be so helpful, thank you. Evelyn's eyes widened. A new quest! She scurried up the walkway next to her cousin. We'll deliver for 10 gold! Janine rolled her eyes and nudged her cousin out of the way, taking the package from the porch-bound woman. It's no problem, and there's definitely no delivery fee, Janine said. The Crimson Archer is forgetting that the heroes aren't in it for the money. Didn't you return all of that gold the bandits stole in Piscary Bay, Crimson? I guess so. The girls trudged through the snow, making a quick detour to the post office before arriving at the library. I'd been looking forward to my introduction to the Crimson Archer books all day. More for the pendant than the hero wore than the hero himself. I hope that even in a fictional story, I could divine a blueprint for what a relic such as myself might do. I could hardly wait. The librarian handed Evelyn a copy of The Crimson Archer, Curse of the King, and the girls began the trek back home, prize in hand. I should have known that the library was only the halfway point. The sun began to set as we ventured back to the magic shop. Usually this was the time of day where everyone was settling in for the night, but more and more the town exited their cottages, heading towards the center of town. When the girls re-entered the warmth of the magic shop, we were surprised to see Nadia and Tobias donning their winter jackets to depart as well. "Sorry, girls," Tobias said, wrapping a scarf around his neck. "We have to attend a town hall tonight, so it'll be a late dinner when we're back." Evelyn popped down at the front window with her book, uninterested in anything else but in the world at the moment, but Janine grew curious. "A town hall? What for?" "Oh, who knows," Nadia said with a hint of annoyance in her voice. "Last time was because Charlie thought he saw a blue-eyed wolf in the mountains while he was hunting, but it was just the Callaghan's dog after it knocked over some paint." Ah! What did I do? I think I hit the key buttons, take you back and forth, I guess. There we go. "The mayor wants us there, though," Tobias said. "Said he needs an expert magic opinion for whatever it is. Anyway, stay inside. We'll be back later." The two shopkeepers departed, leaving Janine and Evelyn alone with their new book. The girls sat together near the front window to watch the older Denholms trudge down the street before diving into the story, the pages illuminated in red and green by their necklaces. What started as curiosity within me morphed into obsession, nearly as large as Evelyn's, with each passing page. The Crimson Archer was the apex of justice, and he never missed his mark. Adored by the masses and feared by the villains, I found myself tasting the heroic life through these tales and wanting more. More of the stories, of course, but also the opportunity to be a part of something as awe-inspiring as the Crimson Archer's journey. The story didn't speak much about his relic, other than one detail. The relic chose the archer to be their champion. Anyone could wear the pendant, but the pendant only granted the powers to the one they felt was worthy of their incredible power, molding the hero of the story from a kind-hearted man with a frail body into a powerful and agile warrior. Was it so simple? I just had to pick my own champion, like a gatekeeper to the magic? Well, that's easy. I'd choose Janine. I felt no difference to my dormant magic, so that didn't work. Either I didn't yet believe she truly earned champion status. To be fair, being a champion sounded dangerous, and maybe I just put her in harm's way with overconfidence in whatever it is that I could provide. Or the magic wasn't so simply swayed. I lost myself in the story for a while, but I snapped back to reality after feeling something strange nearby. Like a new magic, but one that didn't originate from me. Evelyn tapped her cousin's shoulder, pointing at the window. "Janine, what's that?" Ooh, we got something going on. Next. And make sure not to hit last. That would not be good. I would not get what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip real quick though. Sip concluded. Oh, there we go. Like a tree thing with like eyes? A bizarre creature stood in the middle of the street. One unlike anything I'd seen while exploring the woods was Janine. Its body looked like a decaying tree, upturned such that its many twisted branches formed legs that crawled along the ground like a gigantic wooden spider. While not as tall as the pines just outside the city, it still stood at triple the height of the average person. This monster was no ordinary being. It bristled with magic, a purple energy orbiting its gnarled limbs and trunk. I couldn't feel touch like a living being, but I could feel this magic radiating outward like a steady heat. From two knot holes near where its magic was most concentrated, piercing white eyes darted back and forth, scanning the street and buildings. It was looking for something, for anything that might prevent it from advancing further into the town. Janine gasped when she looked up from the book, dropping it to the floor. She wrapped her arms tightly around Evelyn and staggered backwards until she bumped into its shelf, causing its contents to clatter and jingle. "It's a Pyriel," Janine said, barely above a whisper. "Don't talk. Don't move." The Pyriel. Tobias had mentioned them before, earlier that day even. Found throughout the Burin Mountains, they were creatures responsible for the total destruction of multiple cities along the pass routes. The Pyriel were rarely sighted this far west. The Quinn's Peak unit of pass guards, protectors of the town and travelers throughout the mountains, last fought the Pyriel over 10 years ago, nearly annihilating both Pyriel and pass guards alike. The sacrifice of the pass guards, including Janine's father, brought years of stability to the mountains. The Pyriel faded from nascent threat to distant memory back then. Oh. And yet, one stood before us that day, while anyone who might be able to do something about it had gone to the mayor's town hall, possibly to discuss the sighting of this very thing. The tree's monstrous limbs creaked and groaned as it dragged itself through the snow, manipulated the warp and bend beyond their natural limit by the magic contained inside. The creature lumbered to the buildings across the street, facing the bakery. It examined the building, running a knotted branch along the siding of neatly trimmed planks and logs. What in all of Terra was it doing? Janine and Evelyn stayed as still as they could, more like a tree than the beast that roamed outside. "Please, just go," Janine whispered with a trembling voice, over and over. "Just turn around and go." Evelyn squirmed into Janine's tight grip. She didn't understand the fuss about the strange creature like her older cousin. While I knew the dangers posed by the Pyriel, I didn't truly understand either until the Pyriel revealed its frightening power. Alongside the branch that touched the bakery's wall, motes of purple light gathered and swirled, spiraling forward along the monster's limbs until they collided with the side of the building. Upon contact, the violet energy burrowed into the wood until the bakery's wall burst the purple flame unlike anything I'd seen before. I'd spent enough time in the Denholm's magic shop to think I understood magic, but the raw primal power behind the fire as it spread at an incredible speed to consume the front facade of the bakery overshadowed any other magic I'd witnessed up to that point. Even when it came to whatever magic slept within me, I'd never imagined a power anything close to this. The Pyriel must have planned for this. It had chosen the perfect opportunity to destroy the town, unopposed, while its citizens were distracted. Evelyn's eyes widened as the violet flame grew higher along the building. No longer enthralled by the strange sight of a walking tree, she did what any little girl would do in her situation. She screamed as loud as she could. Janine covered Evelyn's mouth to muffle the sound, but the damage was done. The Pyriel spun around with frightening agility, its strange white eyes fixating on the girls in the window. A sense of dread washed over me as the Pyriel inched closer. This monstrous creature threatened to take away my home and those I cared about with a simple touch. "Run, girls! You can't just stay here!" My silent warnings fell on deaf ears. Could I really do nothing in this moment? Janine and Evelyn needed my help. Nobody else was coming to their aid. It had to be me. I had to find something deep inside. And as more and more Pyriel eyes shone in the distance down the road, I knew it had to be now. Oh boy, we're at... Things are not looking good. Amulet protection. Oh, it's pulsing. Interesting. As the fates weave our destinies into the fabric of time, when we see a spool nearing the end of its thread, we're faced with the possibility of everything unraveling before us. Some have extra spools on hand for the occasion, others know when it's time for the finishing knot. For the longest time, I'd known I had fate-bound thread to spare, but I never truly needed to find it until now. Not for myself, but for Evelyn and Janine. The thing deep inside is actually a pipe bomb. Yeah, they just like take off the amulet, just throw it, and it just explodes and destroys the entire village. And this is actually just the JRPG protagonist's backstory. Actually, you try to save your village and then you accidentally destroy it. That'd be fucked up. Knowing their destinies were tied to me fueled my desperate grasp in the dark for the smallest strands of anything to hold everything together that night. In that desperation, I found something. Something small, but something nonetheless. A rush of energy welled within me, fueled by my desire to keep the Denholm girls safe from harm. In retrospect, I hated that it took something so dangerous to find the strength, but in the moment, I focused on protecting those I cared about. A green light erupted from me in all directions, sending waves of magic out past the window and into the street, where it struck the nearest Pyriel. The monster stumbled backward, caught off guard as my viridian light outshone its purple hues. Yeah! We're fighting now! The Pyriel's eyes focused on me, assessing the threat I posed to its plans. When I mentioned searching for the small strands earlier, I didn't exaggerate. This power was real. I knew that the magical being within its wooden shell could sense my presence. It could feel a sting of my magical energies clashing with its own. But my burst of magic was more warning than anything, and I didn't know that I could summon anything more from within if the Pyriel called my bluff. Before the monster outside the window pressed its luck with its approach, Janine scrambled closer to the window, holding me against the glass with one hand while the other pounded against it, trying to finish what I started. Go away! Go! Get out! The sting in my light sent the pack of the Pyriel reeling once more, tripping over one another's branches as they skated backward in an effort to stay beyond the boundary of green hues reflecting off the snow. They looked at one another, as if conversing about a change of plans. 0 out of 10 didn't summon a shotgun and blow a hole into the monster's stomach. It's okay. 20 chapters later and we'll have everything. We'll have shotguns, we'll have rocket launchers, swords, we'll have it all. That is the power deep inside. They looked at one another as if conversing about a change of plans. For a moment, it seemed our gambit worked. The Pyriel abandoned their approach towards us. Relief washed over me in the aftermath of my successful first steps in harnessing my magic. Will we even have an ICBM Titan II missile? Maybe there will be a missile. We don't know. Magic missiles? That could be. That could be a thing. We'll see. I mean, they have magic archers that don't miss. They probably have. That's basically like a missile at that point. just like a tinier one. A sharper one. But they didn't turn around and leave the way they came. As the purple flames spread from the bakery to the other shops across the street, the Pyriel decided to focus their efforts elsewhere in town, backtracking to take another road deeper towards the heart of Quinn's Peak. The peril facing the town as a whole dwarfed our small success at keeping the Pyriel at bay. No, 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 no! Janine pounded on the window again, tears running down her cheeks as we watched the Pyriel vanish from view. Turn around! Turn around! We both knew these creatures wouldn't heed her words. Far from my magical barrier, nothing stood in the way of spreading their magic fire throughout Quinn's Peak. Janine held me up in front of her, staring for a moment into the viridian energy swirling outward from me, knowing she held the one thing in the whole town that might frighten the Pyriel. She took a deep breath, affixing me to her neck as she marched toward the door. Evelyn, stay here. I'm going to drive them. Before she could finish, Evelyn latched onto her cousin, shaking her head and burying her face into Janine's side. Daddy said to stay inside. Don't go. Please don't go. The thought of leaving the rest of town to its own grim fate tore me up inside, and I knew Janine felt the same. But without a better grasp of my magic, the Pyriel would question the limits of my strength, and I might not have the real answer. I feared Janine might try anyway, which would put her and Evelyn's lives in jeopardy with a hasty plan. Janine gave in to Evelyn's pleas, realizing that she couldn't confront these creatures and leave Evelyn unprotected. We just weren't ready. At best, we'd have delayed the inevitable. She slumped against the front window, holding her cousin in her lap as the girls cried together. Janine wrapped my chin around her hand, keeping me close to the window in case the Pyreal made another pass to the magic shop. Bells rang in the distance, alerting the rest of Quinn's Peak to the threat within its borders. Smoke billowed from the purple flames creeping along the distant rooftops as the Pyreal's magic consumed everything it touched. A little magic shop remained unscathed, but Quinn's Peak turned to ash around us. I felt almost certain that I couldn't have done anything more for the town at the time with barely a grasp on my own magic. Still, that sliver of uncertainty ate at me. There goes the town. Everything destroyed. It was only a matter of time, really. Where's the drama when you live in a nice, safe little mountain town? You gotta burn it to the ground. Devastation. Ah, the like fire animation's really nice. I like it. As the night progressed, the roar of the purple flames drowned out the warning bells and screams from the town's center. The ash fought the snow for territory. As it blanketed the ground, the charred remnants of building after building. The bakery collapsed in on itself, as did its neighbors, leaving a giant gap to watch the rest of the town burn. 1 in 3 structures would not survive the night, and of those that remained, very few avoided any damage whatsoever from the Pyreal attack. Nobody came down our street for some time, as the fighting against the Pyreal remained deeper in the heart of Quinn's Peak. With nearly everyone in one place per the mayor's request, the Pyreal swept along the outskirts of town before advancing towards the center, boxing in everyone at the town hall. The monster stole the lives of so many of our neighbors that night. And for what? What did these creatures gain from their senseless attack? The barren mountains had plenty of room for the town and the Pyreal to coexist, but they chose to attack these innocent people purely out of malice. They tore apart families and tainted the dreams of the people of Quinn's Peak who hoped for a quiet, peaceful life. They had no excuse, and if I ever had the chance, I vowed to ensure the Pyreal would get what they deserved in return. Janine tensed as the Pyreal emerged from the thick smoke that clogged the streets, but it hadn't returned to finish its attack. It was fleeing. Staggering towards the western gate on half-broken branches and marred with cuts across its trunk from the strikes of axes and sword, the gnarled tree creature couldn't reach its destination before a trio of past guards caught up to it. Dressed in dark blue tabards with a mountain-shaped logo on the chest, and equipped with heat-resistant gloves and boots, the Quinn's Peak past guards represent the best hope for getting the Pyreal under control, spending much of their training focused on countermeasures for these attacks, although the countermeasures hadn't fully prepared them for this scenario, as most assumed that a lone Pyreal might one day return to Quinn's Peak. Not 6. Shitty lore jump scare. Echo Hotel 8 and Echo Brave 8 are sister stations in my story, a part of a larger network of signal towers. The 2 sister stations are called the Double Eights. I like that. You know what? If it works, it works. The fun, just like whatever. If you like it, then like, what's wrong with it? That's not shitty. That's great. The Double Eights. I like it. It rolls off the tongue good. Regardless, the past guards fought on. Armed with axes and heavy wood splitter swords, the 3 past guards surrounded the wounded monster, blocking any chance of a clean escape. The past guards hacked away at the Pyreal, severing more and more branches from the enchanted tree until it couldn't retreat further. Something occurred to me, like in the middle. If you want to know shit, you want to hear some shitty lore from my story. There's a in the backstory stuff. There's a war between 5 nations that ends up leading to like them all being united through like force and stuff. But there's a name for that war because it's like kind of like the last like official war in their history between different in the like the empire's history, because there's like a one big empire in the future. But, like, way back in the past, there were, like, all these different kingdoms and such. And you know what I decided to call that war? 5 kingdoms? Penta Wars. It's supposed to be, like, a... Like... I don't know why I called it that. 5-sided polygon. I think it's, like, supposed to be, like, a... Yeah, pentagon. That's why 5-sided polygon is a pentagon. So I called it the Penta Wars because there's 5 kingdoms. Now that's kind of shitty. Yeah, war names are hard though. Most of them aren't very interesting in real life though. They usually just battle of location. Yeah, I mean we have like the like what's the war called like this. We would have a war in like the war in 7 Years War. We would have a war what we call the 7 Years War. So, so like you're being accurate to like real life, if anything. But because like I did like an internship where I did like research on like wars and stuff to write about, and a lot of them really just don't have interesting names. Like. The war of 19 something something, the war of this, or the war that took place in this town. Like usually if you want to name a war and you like generally like don't care enough to think of a funny name for it or an interesting one, name it after like the big place it takes place in, the year it takes place in, or how long it takes place. And like you got it. That's it. That's just how people name wars in real life. But yeah, they chopped at its trunk, sidestepping the Pyreos' purple motes of fire and coordinating their efforts on the weak spot between the Pyreos' knot-hole eyes. Despite the threat of catching fire as they circled the immobilized but enraged Pyreo, the Past Guards fought with limitless courage as the 3 Guardians cracked through the outer layer, exposing the heart. The tree with the heart. Evelyn's head stayed below, buried in Janine's shoulders, but Janine and I couldn't turn away from the show of heroic determination right outside our window. In a night filled with fear and devastation, watching the Past Guards break through the Pyreos' trunk and pierce its core of concentrated magic inspired hope within us, especially when we saw the monster topple over into nothing but sticks and kindling, its purple motes vanishing until the tree went dark. The Past Guards took a moment to catch their breath before they noticed my flickering light, and then noticed a girl curled up at the windowsill. One of them, a man with disheveled gray hair and a mustache, jogged to the door and opened it. "Is it just you 2 in here?" the Past Guard asked, trying and mostly failing to brush the soot from its face and tabard. Janine nodded, hugging her cousin tighter. Everyone peeked up at the Past Guard, her voice barely above a whisper, muffled by Janine's shoulder. "Did you get them all?" "We did, my dear. There's no more Pyreo to worry about." The Past Guard offered a friendly smile as he knelt down to Janine and Evelyn. "But right now, I need your help. Tobias said you know where to find the Flame Ward scrolls? We need as many as we can carry." The girls led the Past Guards to the storeroom, pointing at the scrolls for the Past Guards to take. None of these magics were very powerful, but temporary resistance to fire gave them a chance to tame the inferno outside. They still had a long night ahead of them. I wished I could offer more of my magic to their effort to make up for my meager efforts against the Pyreo earlier. I could only offer a silent promise that I would never allow this nightmare to happen again. As the Past Guards ready to leave, Tobias shuffled through the snow back towards the magic shop. He stopped across the street, waving his wand to gather snow from the ground to blanket the remnant flames of the former bakery and its surroundings, smothering the embers before they could spread further. "Daddy!" Evelyn burst out the front door, tumbling through the snow and hugging arms around Tobias's leg, tears returning to her eyes. Tobias picked up his dollar, sighing in relief. I was so worried about you, sweetie. It's okay now. It's okay. He turned to the pass guards as they left the magic shop. Thank you for making sure they were safe, Warren. It seems like it should have been worse here, to be honest, the mustached man said, pointing at the disturbed snow in the road from where the Pyreal first arrived. It looked like they approached earlier, but stopped and turned around. Can't say I've seen that before. They're usually relentless. Evelyn curled up in her father's arms. It was Janine's necklace. It scared them. Tobias adjusted his glasses, glancing at Janine and me in surprise. Is that so? Something was still amiss. Janine looked down the road towards the center of town for anyone else approaching the magic shop. Seeing none, she turned back to her uncle, fearing she already knew the answer that escaped her lips with a quivering voice. Where's my mom? Yeah, I had a feeling. When she didn't show up with Tobias, I had a feeling. There we go, tragic backstory. Locked in. Pass guard training. Yeah, she joins the pass. Yeah, that's kind of what I saw happening. Aww, poor Janine. A steady rain pelted the training grounds at the pass guard citadel, turning the dirt into mud under the boots of the new recruits as they practiced handling a sword against an armed opponent. Soaked to the bone, the trainees shivered and slipped as they parried their instructor's blades over and over. Some managed to keep their footing in the downpour, while others ended up on the ground every other strike, their tabards turning more brown than blue in the messy conditions. Still, each of the 20 trainees vying for a position with the pass guards always got back to their feet and continued their lessons. If a little rain got to them now, they wouldn't be much use on patrol for Pyreal threats in the winter months. Janine braced herself for Warren's next attack as their mentor ran her through the usual drills. Not to brag about my wearer, but of that year's recruiting class, Janine easily outpaced most of them. Witnessing the pass guards cut a Pyreal down to nothing convinced her that her destiny lay within their ranks. 6 years on, that destiny seemed assured. Between the jobs she took rebuilding the town, she tracked down Warren for lessons in sword fighting and anything else he'd be willing to teach. In contrast, half the other trainees had never so much as held a sword before the summer session started. I'm surprised some of them hadn't lost any limbs yet. I'd followed Janine on every step of her journey, and I mean that quite literally. Since the night of the attack a half-dozen years ago, Janine kept me within arm's reach at all times. Of everything she inherited from her late mother, I was the only magical object she kept. She gave the rest to Tobias and Evelyn. I meant a lot to Janine. A memento of her mother, protection from monsters, an unfinished puzzle. Protector might be a bit of a stretch for me. Other than a single night's light show that barely kept monsters at bay, I stayed static in an unchanging world, unable to divine the next step with my magic while everyone around me took off running. Quince Peak moved with the fierce tenacity to not only rebuild, but improve the town in efforts to better protect the population. Up went taller, sturdier walls, with steel portcullises at the 2 main entry points into town, followed by watchtowers in each cardinal direction and a massive citadel and a northern wall with enough space to shelter the entire town if a new calamity arose. The rebirth of Quince Peak proved that the Pyreal did not defeat us, despite bringing us to our knees. These new structures, alongside efforts to revamp the Berlin Pass Guards into a larger and stronger organization, better fit the role of protector than me. My services were mostly relegated to nightlight. I'm gonna take a sip real quick. Sip. Then home, Janice. A voice called out over the class of metal and grunts of trainees. Center training day. Training circle. 5 minutes. Janine relaxed her stance and spun towards the middle of the muddy training grounds, where the training circle had been trampled to oblivion by the trials of other recruits earlier in the day. About time they called me. I'm ready to get it over with and get out of this rain. Got any advice, Warren? From my vantage spot around Janine's neck, I spied Warren's fist swinging at Janine from outside peripheral vision, to tap her on the head. Don't turn away from your opponent in the middle of a fight, for one. Warren chuckled as Janine winced, but his mood grew serious when he looked toward the one running the evaluations. Just outside the center circle stood a tall man, wearing a full set of armor accented in the past guard's dark blue fabrics. His curly hair had been tamped down by the helm he often wore during his own training, a restrained wildness it shared with his piercing eyes. Despite his calm, stoic expression, those eyes looked like a mountain lion perpetually 1 pounce away from a deadly strike. Captain Gallon's not easy to impress, Warren said, sheathing his sword. After what he accomplished on battlefields in Jagrius, running the pass guards probably feels more like babysitting to him. He'll likely pair you against Jacob or Tanya. Either would put up a fair enough fight for you. Keep in mind, though, it's not about winning or losing. He wants to see your technique, your toughness. Be able to mean in the ring if he can find it in you. I'd say mean was an apt descriptor for the Baron pass guards under Galen's watch. Even after strengthening the town's defenses with a raised stone wall, the mayors of the remaining mountain towns agreed that seeking out the Pyreal within their numbers with preemptive strikes would better serve the town and waiting for their next attack. They hired Galen, who in turn brought a slew of skilled but unruly mercenaries with him to the mountains. The era of friendly volunteer pass guards ended, as the new soldiers were more likely to make a mess at a tavern and to help travelers with directions. Most townsfolk went out of their way to avoid the mercenaries when they could. Janine gripped me tightly in her hand. For good luck, of course. I'm also her good luck charm. Before she stepped into the slippery center of the mud-covered training ring, ignoring the heavy rain as best she could. Denholm reporting for evaluation, sir. Ah, so you're Denholm. I can finally put a name to the necklace. The imposing captain paced along the perimeter of the ring, his armor clattering with each step. Janine smiled, glancing down at me. Oh yes, do you like it? The Viridian sphere was my mother's before she passed, so I always have it. It's stunning, certainly. Get rid of it. A puzzled look came across Janine's face. She paused, glancing back at Warren. The older man shrugged as he watched from afar. Oh fuck, it's time to drink water. I got a little bit left. There we go, I've hydrated my last my last sip. Which is good timing. Because it is trying to drink water, MP3. You hear me sipping. Actually, you don't hear me sipping because I mute when I sip. Because I feel bad subjecting people to my sip noises. I wish I had a mute button on my mic. I want to get a new one that has a mute button I could just press. But this one's fine. This one's good. A puzzled look came across Janine's face. She paused, glancing back at Warren. The older man shrugged as he watched from afar. Come again? Sir, I've never gone a day without it. It means a lot to me, so nothing. You're not off to a good start here, Denholm. Galen's pace along the outer ring quickened, the wildness in his eyes intensifying as he stared at Janine and myself. Questioning a direct order? Carrying unsanctioned, possibly dangerous magical accessories in my citadel. No other trainees own an advantage like a relic. It hardly seems fair. So take it off. Give it to your instructor, and let's start again. An advantage? Viridian warded off Pyreal once, but that was a long time ago. It doesn't help me fight or anything, sir. Right now it's just a necklace. I began to grow frustrated as Janine. In such a dangerous profession, I'd have thought the captain would welcome any such advantage available to him if I actually provided one. My wearer didn't need help in a duel against the other recruits anyway. Galen crossed his arms, squinting at Janine. Relics like that are never just a necklace. I fought enough adversaries wearing similar things to know better. But fine. Since you won't surrender your advantage, a fight with another trainee wouldn't be very fair. Would it? I'll have to adjust your evaluation accordingly. Panicked, Janine started to respond to the captain's assertions, but Galen already made up his mind, looking to his biggest mercenary. Rufel, center ring, now! Oh boy. You got this, Janine. Look at that die. The swords are all dented, which makes sense. A scarred, bearded man the size of a grizzly bear approached the training area with a rumbling laugh to accompany his toothy grin. Rufel was no typical pass guard, even among the mercenaries that made up the majority of their ranks. Where many looked for an easy paycheck and little else, Rufel found enjoyment in running his sword through his enemies and watching the life vanish from their eyes. Sounds like a fun person to be around. As he entered the circle, he snatched a battered sword and buckler from a trainee, his acquired weapons looking more like children's toys in his gargantuan hands. Already on the captain's bad side, little lady, Rufel said, pointing himself at the center of the training ring. An uneasy Janine took a few cautious steps backwards, towards the border of the training circle, just shy of crossing it. Doing so would disqualify duelists in other contests throughout training. Been a while since he gave me the chance to break some bones, ever since last year's little accident. Janine's eyes widened as she turned to the captain. Sir, you can't be serious! By then, other pass guards started to gather around the circle, where the veteran guardians who were around before Galen's arrival voiced their protest of the evaluation, only to be drowned out by the mercenaries cheering for Rufel to teach Janine the consequences of disobedience under Galen's command. The captain seemed unmoved by Janine's apparent fear. Begin. Before Janine could find her stance, Rufel pounced at her, sweeping his sword towards Janine's ribcage. With little time to respond, she met Rufel's chipped, dented steel with her own, but her awkward position left her off balance, giving Rufel an opening to slam his buckler into Janine's side. You ever just accidentally make a plant creature in a game that kills anything it comes in contact with by zapping it? That doesn't sound like a that's not just like that's a pretty cool accident, you know? That didn't just sound like an accident. That sounds like a cool one. I wish I had a plant creature that killed anything it came in contact with. I would put it on like a little pedestal, and I'd put a sign up that says, "This is the plant that kills you." And people are like, "This is the plant that kills me?" And then they touch it, and they get electrocuted and die. And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I had a sign. You know, you had your warning." You should do that. Obviously, it's a great idea. Let's see, where were we? There we go. She tumbled backward into the mud, yelping in pain as she struck the ground. Rufel could have ended the match with that one blow had he chosen to knock Janine out of the ring, but he had instead forced her back toward the center. The mercenary seemed dead set on drawing this duel out. "Come on, recruit," Rufel said between bouts of his guttural laugh. "You better not be done already." The drunks at the ale horse last longer on their feet. They'd stand a better chance against a Pyreal than you. Janine got the one knee, grasping at me to make sure I was still around her neck. I knew Janine was better than one volley might lead a casual observer to believe, but it seemed like even at the moment, she didn't believe it either, glancing towards the edge of the ring and contemplating an early exit. "Just relax, Janine. Relax and focus. Warren taught you how to fight against opponents like him." With a deep breath, Janine stood up again. Well, this is the part where I kill. Yeah, exactly. This is the part where the plant kills you, and then it kills you, and you're just like, damn. Should have seen that one coming. Janine stood up again, closing her eyes for a moment to recenter herself before taking a proper fighting stance. This time, she readied herself for Rufel's next attack. It almost felt like my words cut through the tension and fear, then brushed it all aside, as if she'd actually heard me. When Rufel made his next approach and lunged at Janine, she read his motions and sidestepped the attack, sweeping her blade upward to aim at Rufel's center. Her sword clashed with Rufel's buckler instead, but her aggressive counter paid off, as the stocky mercenary took a step back. "That's more like it," Rufel said, grinning. I'll make you a deal, though. That necklace is probably worth a few gold, yeah? Hand it over and I walk away right now. Otherwise, you'll be lucky if you can walk at all when we're done. Janine grit her teeth, putting Rufal in the defensive with the wild swing of her sword towards the mercenary's head. Viridian stays with me! I bristled at Rufal's threat. He deserved to be humbled, knocked into the mud, staring up at us from his back. The trainees cheered as Janine managed to gain ground in the training circle as the two exchanged blows. For a man who regularly extracted blood with blades as his profession, Rufal relied so much more on his brute strength than any semblance of proper technique that Janine could capitalize on his little mistakes to avoid direct hits. I could feel energy welling up from the excitement of the match, especially as Janine managed to keep pace with the mercenary. I'd absorbed every lesson Warren shared with Janine as well, so I knew all the ways Janine should step to counter Rufal's momentum, and which strikes would force Rufal to respond with weaker attacks. What surprised me about Janine's sudden effectiveness in the ring wasn't her technique. She'd done these routines 1,000 times with Warren's guidance. It was the speed at which she made her decisions. Her motions came fractions of a second after I'd spotted them, mirroring what I thought was their best course of action every time. She'd never been so quick against Warren in training. The connection I'd felt with Janine back when she first put me on seemed stronger now. In the face of this new danger, I seemed to be lending more than just moral support, their bond. I was augmenting her instincts with my enhanced perception of our surroundings. Maybe these decisions weren't solely her own anymore, as her shared knowledge of Warren's training helped Janine move like a seasoned fighter. Rufal growled in frustration, as his sword spent most of its time slicing at air. He'd managed glancing blows, causing more injury flailing his buckler at Janine than anything else. Warren's lessons hadn't covered counters against desperate thrashing yet. Despite a bloody nose and some scratches on her arm and face, Janine persisted. When Rufal miscalculated a downward swing and his blade dug deep into the mud instead of his opponent, Janine took the golden opportunity to extend her blade forward, bringing its tip within an inch of Rufal's sternum. The mercenary let go of the sword and stumbled back, crossing beyond the boundary of the training ring as the homegrown pass guards and recruits cheered Janine on. With a confident smirk, Janine turned towards Galen, wiping her bloody nose with her glove and resting her sword on her shoulder. I guess it was a fair fight, huh? Oren's been teaching me for years, you know. So I won, right? I can keep wearing my necklace now? Who says you won? The savage enemy stormed in Galen's eyes as he stared down Janine. I never said this evaluation had any conditions for victory. Janine's face morphed into a confused expression as she tried to understand what else this captain wanted from her. Over the roar of the crowd, she didn't hear Rufal return to his feet. He was just beyond her peripheral vision, taking steps after menacing step towards her. Rufal's grin had faded as well, the angry mercenary discarding any illusion of a fair fight as he stole another weapon from the crowd, swinging it with ferocity at Janine's unguarded back. Behind you! I felt my magic boil inside me as I knew Janine couldn't defend against Rufal on her own in time. A burst of green energy flowed out of me, swirling around Janine's head and arms as my warning reached her at the last moment. Before Janine even realized what she was doing, her arm slipped her sword from her shoulder and braced her blade behind herself, ready for the impact against the attack she never saw coming. The next moments passed in the blur. Janine parried Rufal's sword from behind, absorbing most of Rufal's cruel ambush that would have likely severed her spine. The force of the impact still overwhelmed Janine's own strength in such an awkward position, as the sword dug into her shoulder blade, cutting down to the bone and causing her to cry out in pain. From Janine's side, Rufal reached a hand towards her neck, either to strangle her or steal me for himself. Maybe both. She pulled the sword from her shoulder and struck Rufal square in the nose with its pommel with as much strength as she could muster. He stumbled backwards, yelling obscenities before he threw himself with Janine once more. I'll tear you to shreds! The training grounds devolved into chaos, as pass guards pulled the humiliated and bloodied mercenary away from Janine. Warren and the others rushed to her side to treat her wounds. It's good that the other past guards stepped in. I'm not sure it could have prevented Warren from making good on his promise. I need more time to understand this new depth to my connection with Janine the Aider properly, anyway. Even Captain Galen seemed on edge in the aftermath of the scuffle, his sword half drawn from its sheath. One might have assumed he would have stepped in to stop Arufo from doing any further harm to one of its recruits, but Galen's eyes had been tracking me the whole time, a hint of fear behind them. What was he so worried about? He stood frozen in place, rain plinking off his armor, watching me as my bright glow died down to its usual intensity the further the other past guards dragged Rufo away through the mud. Enough for today, Galen said, sheathing his sword as he turned towards the citadel doors. Get cleaned up. Evaluations continue tomorrow. That was a good fight. I like that. That was a very good fight. Fact of dialogue from my shit story I told you isn't stolen from a video I saw. Sorry, man. So I borrowed from Echo Hotel. Echo Hotel. Echo Hotel. Beep. Echo Hotel. Echo Hotel. Echo Hotel. Beep. Message for 437 92 scope. Attention. 437 92 scope. Oh yeah, classic oh, there we go. You know, just trying to get those messages. So is that like talking like over the radio or some sort? Interesting. What time period does it take place in? I'd like to know these things. I think I'll read one more chapter though, and then I'll probably just, I don't know, talk for a bit, end the stream, etc, you know. The usual that I do. Janine Wynn says Evelyn dabbed a syrupy orange substance onto the deep cut in her shoulder with a sponge. Why do all the healing elixirs sting so much? Well, when Dad makes them, the main ingredient he uses comes from the stinging dagger leaf, so I guess we'll never know. Oh, radio gaming. Oh, 2008. 2008. I remember 2008. I remember, like, I lived through that era, which I did. Oh, huh? Yeah. Oh, no, the job. Oh, you mean, I don't know. I have been reading for a while, so I'm not sure if I have particularly, like, the energy to read it right now. Maybe I could read it next time, though. You know, it's a little break. I usually read just web serials, but it might be nice to read, like, a little, like, short story every now and then. Unfortunately, I do not have that much stamina for reading stuff quite yet. I'm still building it up. But I do have it bookmarked, so I'd be totally down to read it. Oh, how long is it? Yeah, it's like 16 pages, which isn't the longest thing, but yeah, I'd be down to read it next time. Apologies. Collect my 60 pages. Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Now I must read The Jaunt sooner. You know what? Maybe see, I'm taking a break next week, but next time I do like a reading stream, I will read it. Or maybe I'll just do a surprise stream later this week and I'm like, let's read some more. We'll see. I had that in my brain at one point. Well, we'll see. Right now we'll just finish off with this last chapter, the Viridian Sphere. Evelyn chuckled to herself as she coded the entirety of Janine's wound. At least the other guy didn't chop your arm off or anything. I heard the reattachment spells can be so painful, patients rip their limbs off again for relief. The past guard the bee glanced over her shoulder to squint at her grinning cousin and her morbid claims. Now you're just making stuff up. In the years after the Pyreal attack, Evelyn had grown from a little rambling gremlin to a taller, more articulate gremlin. But unlike her cousin, Evelyn embraced her magical heritage. She didn't leave the safety of the shop for weeks after the Pyreal came. Denholm's magical outfitters had become one of the only buildings spared from any trace of the Pyreal's fire, while the town outside its windows rebuilt into something new, so I couldn't blame her for wanting to stay somewhere familiar. I saw Long Jaunt. It's a horror, like a horror short story. Oh yeah, it is horror. It says right there. In fact, I do like my horror, so it does intrigue me. During the hours where Tobias tended to the shop and Janine mended buildings around town, Evelyn would flip through pages of books on spells and supernatural theory, mostly for the illustrations at first, and soaking up facts about all sorts of magics and magicians, reciting your most obscure findings to baffled customers. Evelyn filled in for Nadia's absence at the magic shop, helping her father keep everything running smoothly. When she wasn't reading Crimson Archer books and trying her hand at actual archery with a bow Janine got for her birthday a year ago, she studied hard and practiced basic wizardry and potion craft skills with Tobias. Okay, just one more step. Evelyn reached into her apron pocket, pulling out a bottle with a clear liquid inside. She poured a few drops into the orange substance, which began to smoke and bubble in response. Moments later, the healing elixir dissolved away, revealing a reddish scar at the last remnants of her wound. Wow, I didn't think the scar would be so big still. At least it comes with a good story about being up a boy. You can impress everyone with the ale horse. Oh shit, I have another. There we go. Oh, whoops. Janine lifted her arm up, brushing her opposite hand over the healed skin. It's good enough. At least it doesn't hurt anymore. Thanks, Evie. No problem. Just don't make a habit of that, okay? Evelyn said, corking the elixir bottles, walking to a far shelf to restock the remaining liquid. I use the expensive stuff. I definitely won't, trust me. I guess I got a little overconfident today, but I won't take any more chances around Rufel. Janine sat in silence for what felt like an eternity, pondering whether to reveal anything more. Viridian did something again, too. In an instant, Evelyn bolted back to Janine, her eyes wide with excitement. What did they do? They shoot at Rufel with beams or Arcana or something? She looked down at me, grinning wider. Did you scramble his brains? Turn him into a donkey? Make a shadow fight him? Janine rolled her eyes, but she smiled at the thought of each alternate scenario. None of those. Rufel's brain is already scrambled anyway. She pinched me between her fingertips, holding me up between the two girls. It wasn't something they did to Rufel. They did it to me. It was like, I don't know. It was like my sword moved itself. I didn't even know I was defending against him until it happened. So Viridian can control your sword? Evelyn said. Hey, Viridian, show us some tricks. Janine sat still, narrowing her eyes at her cousin. I stayed dormant as well, but this time it was by choice. She seemed to think I'd only caused her sword to move, and it was probably better for her to think that instead, knowing I'd influenced her decisions. Whether this link between us allowed me to compel Janine's action or really suggest them, I had no intention of betraying her trust to appease her cousin. She could easily choose to stop wearing me. And after years of freely roaming around the town, I didn't want to end up back in the magic shop window again. Carrying a box of new shipment of wands, Tobias entered the shop from the back door. He set the box on the counter before turning to Evelyn. Faldoran's conservation law? Evelyn blinked, her thoughts derailed by a sudden quiz. Which one was that? The mass of a shrinking, transfigured object isn't destroyed. It's moved to an adjacent supernatural realm and can be used for growing other transfigured objects. Good, Tobias said. And how about the cardinal rule for applying magic seals? Don't cast the seal on the surface as seams or cracks that go beyond the boundaries of the embedded magic. That leaves openings for counter magic to dispel them. Tobias smiled at his daughter. Full marks. Good job. By the time you're ready for the academy, you'll be teaching the professors instead of the other way around. He frowned and stroked his beard when he noticed a scar on Janine's shoulder. Oh dear, I thought you said it was a little cut. That looks far more serious. What in the world are they having you do on those training grounds? Fighting to the death? The captain doesn't like them carrying a relic around. Janine picked up her dark blue tabard, examining the cut in the fabric. He was just trying to scare me into following his orders like I'm some soldier he's used to leading, but the past guards are an army. Tobias grunted as he opened the box, pulling out one of the wands to examine. I'm not so sure about that these days. I don't think you're joining the same organization your father belonged to anymore. Nadia certainly wouldn't have wanted you to put yourself in harm's way like this, but I don't think your dad would have, either. Well, the Pyrio are still out there, so we're all still in harm's way anyway. I didn't help put the town back together to let it all burn down again. Janine dug around in the drawers behind the counter, finding a box of needles and thread, its contents untouched ever since the magic shop started to stock magical mending paste. And it's bad enough that the mercenaries make a mess of everything around here, but I really don't trust them to stick around and fight for Quinn's Peak if things get bad again. Then trust the wall to do its job, Janine. That's why it's there after all. You don't have to work here with me and Evelyn, that's fine. Very talented woodworking. Why not the Carpentry Guild? It's safer work and you'd be in a moment of unexpected wisdom. Evelyn placed a hand on Tobias's shoulder, prompting the old magician to fall silent. Dad, it's her choice. It's been her choice forever. You know that. I'd known for a long time that the past guards meant something more to Janine than a mere job. After losing so much, Janine wanted to preserve what remained of her family and home, knowing the past guards guaranteed that opportunity. I wanted her to succeed not just for her own happiness, as it meant I'd also get opportunities to redeem myself for my failure to do more in the first Pyreal attack. After this morning's revelations, it seemed like we had a chance to achieve everything we wanted. Tobias sighed and nodded. Just please, stay safe. Don't worry about me, Janine said, pulling a needle through her damaged tabard. Whatever happens, as long as I've got the Viridian Spear with me, I can handle it. Oh shit. Twitch just gave me an alert that an ad is starting soon. I said this would be last chapter. Okay, I guess when we return I'll wrap up a bit. We'll see. There it is. Mm-hmm. There we go, we're back. Alright. So I bookmarked the page we are on, and I've also bookmarked, I looked up and bookmarked the John. So we could read that. We could do like a, we could read that and then read a bit more of this next time. We'll see though. I'll figure it out when we get there. But yeah, I think that's about as much as my throat can take at the moment. My throat's starting to get a bit sore. And I'm also really hungry right now, unfortunately. I should have eaten beforehand. Okay, I'm going over here. But yeah, like I said before, there probably won't be any streams next week because I want to set things up with my channel now that I've unlocked more power. And I also want to do like a little like probably more chatting focus because I haven't done a chatting focus stream in a while. A lot of my streams have been reading heavy, and I want to do a chatting stream that's gonna have some like special. I'm gonna like share some stuff, and it's gonna be cool. I have concepts, you'll see, for an affiliate celebration stream, because why not, you know, gotta celebrate things. But otherwise, it's like, there we go. Otherwise, I had something else I wanted to say. Otherwise, I keep trying to remember what I was trying to say. I hate it when I forget. I had like a whole speech in mind for how I was gonna leave off, and then I just didn't continue it. It's like it was just like, all right, next week we're taking a break, a play stream, and then that was it. Oh yeah, I want to do more. I have some stuff in mind to add some cool, like, interactive stuff to the stream. And I'm hoping it'll work. I saw a program that might help me, but we'll see. I'm still figuring this stuff out, you know, I'm pretty new to it. But I do want to do it more than just, you know, being like I'm trying, I'm like the writing and like the reading VTuber, but I want to see what else I could do with that. I want to see how much farther I can go, you know. And today it is my proclamation. I will go extremely far, and everybody will see. But I need time to cook, you know. There's stuff I want to cook this month that hopefully will come to fruition at some point. Not a lot, admittedly. I'm kind of like, I'm kind of stepping off the stove for a bit. But you know, we're getting there. I also admittedly want to like, I post a lot about my like web novel I'm writing on Blue Sky. But I do want to like try to put it out there a bit more because I'm kind of like, I kind of don't like talk about it much. I guess I get nervous, like, oh god, that seems kind of self-promoting, but I want to talk about my OCs more. I need to embrace it. I need to embrace that. But yeah, that's just about it. Or just find somebody to raid out to. Let's see who's streaming right now. This person's streaming Sunhaven. Oh, maybe they won't mind being bothered by me. Alright. I remember how to do these things, totally. Alright. See you guys. Let's head out now. Farewell, enjoy the rest of your day, and hope pleasant night. Hope there's a pleasant night.